Hello friends, Tanya here with another video. This time I am doing a coffee lover's blog hop, and I am going to play with the Trinity Stamps Boo Brew die set in particular. I am going to start out this card panel using some stencils from Trinity Stamps. These are the heart stencils. I'll have those linked in the description box below because I'm certain I don't have the name right. And we're going to use some Distress Oxide inks. We've got Crackling Campfire, Spiced Marmalade, and Scattered Straw. I wanted a nice blend here of some softer colors, but of course they are quite intense here because I am quite heavy-handed with my ink blending. I do start with the middle color first, just so I can get the spacing good. And I do go over all of these colors with the Scattered Straw and soften them and blend them mostly with the Scattered Straw ink. Now I've taken the negative off, and I'm going to adhere the positive for this stencil down over the ink blended area, and then I'm going to add some embossing. I'm going to use this beautiful stamp set from the Autumn Impressions release from Trinity Stamps. And I'm going to put this in my MISTI. This is the regular size MISTI. And I'm going to stamp it all the way down this 5.5 by 8.5 inch long panel that I'm going to make a 5x7 card with. If you've been watching me for any length of time, you know that I love to make 5x7 cards. And this is no different. But we're using a Slimline stamp to add a full panel background. Now, this isn't going to be absolutely perfect. These images don't build on each other. However, it's a background image, so I think it's going to be okay if they don't match perfectly. I did end up having to move my stamp. I thought I'd be able to just slide this paper in a little further and stamp it again. However, whoops, you're going to see that it goes too far into the hinge area. Now, if I had trimmed this down to 5x7 or 4.5 by 6.5, which is what it ends up being in the long run, it might have fit in there in that using that same method, but it wasn't really working that time. So I take my stamp and I turn it around in the MISTI so I can continue to stamp with the paper hanging out of the side of the MISTI. And I just carefully line that up on the grid mat. I had it about a 1/2 inch from the outer edge so I could line up the previous stamping with that line on the grid mat. I do continue to stamp without worrying about the the juicy embossing ink being messed up by the MISTI lid touching it. For some reason, it does not seem to affect your stamping quality, which I am so excited about. Now I'm going to take a scrap piece of paper here to catch the embossing powder. This is the white satin pearl embossing powder from Hero Arts, which is one of my go-to embossing powders. And I'm going to peel off that mat. Now the Distress Oxide inking hadn't been quite dry. I'm just going to use this dry paintbrush to brush off the extra powder, and then I'm going to heat set these stamped images. And you're going to watch all of these fun coffee and coffee type beverage cups come to life on this background, which is perfect. It's exactly what I wanted to do. I'm not afraid of white space, but I generally like there to be some texture, and this is one of my favorite ways to add texture to a background. You can use a main image and stamp that repeatedly and have it heat embossed in with this subtle background text look with the white satin pearl or clear or white embossing powder on white paper, or you could do this on a colored cardstock with color coordinated stamping, or gold or black, or so many different colors. Now we're going to pull out this amazing die set that came out also in the Autumn Impressions release. I already made a few of these cinnamon stick dies, and as complicated as that looks, this comes together so easily. I'm taking all of these different colors and I'm die cutting them. You can see I have two different oranges here. I want a different color for each of the components. You either want to go lighter or darker on the base and have the opposite for these stitched components that will turn this into a stylized cup. Now it can look like a pumpkin. I also think it would look awesome in red for like an apple. You could make this green and just make it look like a quilted fat cup. Use your imagination. Purple for grapes or plums. You could make this look like a peach, melons. You could do all kinds of things. Don't limit yourself to just pumpkins. Although the stem and the twirly do look great for pumpkins. This cup is so darn cute. It's so cute. And I love that it has the whipped topping for the top. It's so perfect. Now each of these line up pretty easily. I'm just making sure that they all line up evenly under the lip of the cup there. And I'm taking the whipped topping and adding that on the underside. I'm just going to add a smidge of brown from whatever ink happens to be on my brush. I'm adding a little bit of depth to the die cut. And I am going to add some shimmeriness to our whipped topping. I'm using this Hero Arts Shimmer lacquer pen. This came in one of the kits. Sparkle Clear Lacquer Pen from Hero Arts. And I'm pretty sure you can buy these individually. Just to add a little bit of texture and shimmer to our foam. Now I'm going to add a little darkening to this base piece for the cinnamon stick. This is so clever. Whoever designed this, kudos. You did an amazing job. I'm just tapping off some of the extra glue onto the back of my hand, which I can wash off later. Just going to use the tip of my reverse tweezers here to get precise lining up of that piece with the background. It does have some border around each side of it, and this really makes it look like the cinnamon sticks that are just a roll of the bark, which is what cinnamon is made out of. So cute. I love this little detail. It really adds a lot. We're going to tuck that behind the whipped topping to make it look like it's in the middle of the drink. And we're going to take this cute little vine, which I inked up the very fine tip, which should be the tip that's sticking out, at least in my opinion, because those vines get finer detailed the longer or farther they are from the base of the plant. And then we're going to adhere this leaf. And you could put this in a whole lot of different orientations. And I finally settle on overlapping the handle just a little bit. Going to adjust the placement of that until I am happy with it. And there is that beautiful cup. We're going to take the Modern Embossed A7 stack here and cut out a 4.5 by 6.5 inch panel to put on our 5x7 card. I do want to add a sentiment to this, and I'm going to use a sentiment from the Fa-BREW-lous stamp set. You are Fa-BREW-lous. I think that's adorable. And we're going to stamp this in some dark brown ink. This is Twiggy Brown from Ink on 3 Atelier Ink. And I probably should have stuck with just one inking, but I wanted it extra sharp. So I did two inkings. What I would do in the future would be ink it once with the Twiggy Brown and then go over it with the Juicy ink and emboss it to add a little shininess and crispness to it. But this is what I did this time. I'm going to adhere that panel with a little bit of coaster blank behind it. I added some coaster blank behind the pumpkin cup also to add some dimension to this card. And my heart is off center on purpose. I'm trying to break up my trend of centering everything on my card fronts. Now I thought about using these rhinestones, but settled on this bauble called Lovely Latte. It has a very iridescent shimmer to it, and it's that perfect color for a latte. Going to scatter those up the right side of the card, going from smallest to largest, kind of like it's bubbling up. I'm going to also take one of the smaller hearts in the heart stencil set, and I'm going to add a little detail to the inside of the card. We're going to stencil the same colors on the inside using the crackling campfire spiced marmalade and scattered straw again. Carefully masking off that stencil so we don't get ink where we don't want it, which is what I usually do, and I am impressed I did not this time. This time I am going to just wing it with my acrylic block and stamp with the Twiggy Brown, the Java Nice Day to the inside. I love punny sentiments. What do you think of this card? Do you love it? Does it look like coffee to you, or is it just a fall drink? Leave me a comment in the description or in the box below. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, now would be a great time. If you like this video, please take a moment to click that like button. If you're interested in any of the products I've used today, they are of course in the description box below. Here are a couple more videos I thought you might enjoy. Until next time, bye-bye.